Tehseen Poonawalla, before I bring in Ishkaran Bhandari, I want you to come in on this. The accusation is that you rammed this down. Was it because you wanted to appease a certain community, play divisive politics? And I also want to ask you a very specific question. It's interesting that an exemption was made for Ayodhya. So Ram Bhakts got their temple. But an exemption has not been made for Shiv Bhakts or Krishna Bhakts or Sikhs. I am charging the Congress party tonight with trying to divide Hindus, being prejudiced against Hindus, even though the aspiring number one of the Congress, Rahul Gandhi, calls himself a Shiv Bhakt. If he is, does he believe that Shiv Bhakts do not deserve entry into the Gyanvapi mosque to offer prayers? Three questions, and please answer them.
Specifically, let's get to each one of them. Good evening to you, to all my fellow panelists, and to all the viewers. Point number one, let's go by your hypothetical, rather juvenile but hypothetical evidences that the Congress and Rahul Gandhi is anti-Hindu. Okay, you have nothing to substantiate for it. It's an allegation you make. You keep making allegations. But is the Honorable Supreme Court and respected Honorable ex-Chief Justice Ranjan Gogoi also anti-Hindu, that he upheld the Act of 1991? No. And that's in the written judgment. He also went on to say, and the unanimous judgment went on to say, the act of demolishing the disputed site at the Barbary Mosque was an illegal act. That's a written judgment. So, is the court also anti-Hindu? I'm sure you won't say that. Now, let's come to the second point. I will get to my friend Sai Deepak, what he says. While I agree with what Sai Deepak says, that what Parliament can give, Parliament can take away. So, I concur with Sai Deepak and with Ziba Yasmin that let Mr. Modi bring in a law and try and change this law. If Mr. Modi deems it fit, he has an absolute majority in the Lok Sabha, and he is the Vice President of India chairing the Rajya Sabha, and he'll manage it in the Rajya Sabha because we know how they pass laws there. So, or he'll suspend a few MPs. So that's not a problem. They can do it. They have a brute majority. But let's come to what is the meat of the issue, or what is the substance of the issue. Now, if you are saying that, look, the Muslim objection is wrong, are you saying today, the court, and I quote from Times Now, and your correspondent was wrong in suspending the court-appointed Advocate Commissioner Ajay Mishra for leaking this information of this shivling being found, because even in the Times Now headlines which you had, say it is a claim made by the Hindu side. It is not a claim that the court has
excuse me.
Please allow me to talk.
We are talking about the 1991 Act. We are not talking about what is going on in court. So let me just know. Maybe you have forgotten. No, 1 minute. See,
unless you're scared of
you can be. No, 1 second. There's no truth.
Then allow me
the
to
fact
talk.
is that the man has. No, 1 minute. The man has come up. No, 1 second. Tehseen Poonawalla.
You are interrupting, so viewers don't hear the truth. Don't interrupt me. Let your viewers hear the truth, because you're a fair journalist. Even you say, even your channel says, even Times of India says, even Economic Times say, this is a claim made by the Hindu side. Fair enough. It's a claim made by the Hindu side, not accepted by the court. On a claim made by the Hindu side, without hearing the Muslim side, you are now saying that a shivling was found. There is no substance to this. And what the Honorable
Mr.
Supreme Court today said,
I don't know what you're on to. Please, 1 second. I don't know where you are going with this argument.
Was Ajay Kumar Mishra not suspended?
Completely just.
Was he suspended or no?
Listen to me, Tehseen.
Was he suspended? Yes or no, sir?
Allow me to speak.
Did he leak
allow me to speak
without it being allowed?
Allow me to speak.
The photograph that you're showing.
Can you allow me to speak? Can you allow me to speak?
Sure, but then you allow me to rebut you.
Yes, you can keep rebutting me. That's not a problem.
But you keep interrupting me.
Listen to me, Tehseen Poonawalla.
Sure.
Calm down. Okay.
Very calm.
The question is, yes, a particular person leaked information and he has been pulled up and sacked from his or removed from his job for it. We hold no cudgels for him. Okay, number one. Number two, it is a claim.
Correct.
Number three, the court has not disreputed the claim.
Yes.
In fact, even the Supreme Court has secured the claim by saying we are securing the shivling, and we are also allowing, in the interest of balance, people to do their namaz. Who is hiding these facts? Now let me tell you what Tehseen Poonawalla is hiding.
Allow me to come in. Allow me to come in there. Allow me to come in there, please. Vishal Singh, the other court-appointed surveyor, talking to your channel, said that what Ajay Kumar Mishra did and the so-called claims all through yesterday was all bogus.
Okay,
that's Vishal Singh saying
Poonawalla, it might be bogus. Can you
Now,
give me 30
when
seconds?
Vishal saying the
No one is denying
we are
this.
saying it's bogus.
So
Why are you
one
having
minute.
a hypothetical discussion on something that's not happened?
No, 1 second. Tehseen Poonawalla.
Why are
we
you
not-
having a hypothetical
One
discussion?
second, 1 second, 1 second, 1 second, 1 second. There is a claim that is being made. The claim is
Which has
being...
not been accepted by the court.
Tehseen Poonawalla, allow me. Allow me.
Has the court accepted the claim? Yes or
The
no?
court
The
has
trial
not rejected the claim.
Has it
rejected
accepted
it? It has not rejected it. It is
Fair
secured
point,
the claim.
Because it's not open
It
the
is
report.
secured the
It was
claim.
a secret report.
No, 1 second. 1 second.
It was a
Viewers,
secret
I'm not going to
report.
allow Tehseen Poonawalla to divert this into one
How am I
drain pipe.
diverting it? It was a
One
secret
drain
report
pipe.
that you are discussing
No, 1
that the
second.
court has
Tehseen
not
Poonawalla,
opened.
1 second, please. See, if you're going to keep interrupting me, I won't. I just
No,
will
but
not.
you're
I
not
will
answering
lower
my
your fader.
specific
I'm
questions,
counting
sir.
till 3. Please. It's not right. 1, 2, 3.
Please
Silence. Okay. Now, viewers, there is a sleight of hand here. What is Tehseen Poonawalla saying? Tehseen Poonawalla is counting down the clock. He didn't answer my question at all. And he's laughing because he knows. And I'm not going to fall for it. We've been too often on the same panel, and that's one of the reasons I don't like to invite you on the panel, because there's no productive conversation we can have with you, because you don't have a point. Nonetheless, you're there, and we've accepted that you're there, and therefore we must debate with you. God knows why. Number one, first and foremost, and it's most important, the question that I asked was, did you appease a particular sect of people by getting this particular act passed? No answers on that. Number two, why did you divide Hindus? It's not as if, viewers, the Congress has no track record. In the last Karnataka elections, they wanted to also divide the community along Lingayats. So it's not as if the Congress doesn't want to divide Hindus. That is their bread and butter politics. No answer on that. After all, why should only Ram Bhakts have their way? Why shouldn't Sai Deepak have his way about some issue that he finds is an error of judgment or a historical mistake? And therefore, viewers, you have to understand the machination here. The Congress will never admit to it. The truth is a problem. Ishkaran Bhandari, let me bring you in.
Rahul.
You have heard Tehseen Poonawalla rant about some non-issue. Today the issue is, has this particular act been used to mock the Hindu faith? It's very, very simple. And is it being used to do so? Ishkaran Bhandari.
Rahul, firstly, there is a lot of misrepresentation which is being going on, and a lot of people have started buying it. The Supreme Court has never upheld the Places of Worship Act in Ram Janambhoomi case.
Yes.
Supreme Court decides an issue which is before it, on which an affidavit, counter affidavit is filed. Arguments are advanced. The constitutionality of this act was never in that case a question, because the act has a specific exception for that case. So there was no occasion to examine the constitutional validity of it. Secondly, if the Supreme Court had upheld it, they wouldn't have recently issued notices on the constitutional validity of the act. So that is a complete, utter misrepresentation going on. Every part of the judgment is not something which is binding. There is a lot of obiter. All that has been said on Places of Worship Act, in my interpretation, is an obiter, because it was not a central question before the court to decide that dispute. There was no counter affidavit filed on those constitutional validity. Now let us come to the case at hand. Please understand what has happened today. Whether the section 4 subclause 3 exception applies or not, I think the simpler and cleaner view is that BJP should repeal the law, not only on the grounds that it is dividing this or it isn't being Congress, on the simple ground that to me it is a communal piece of legislation which deprives a Hindu from access to justice. It is violative of my Article 32, my 21, my 14, my 25 to 28. There are n number of judgments of the Supreme Court going on from land acquisition matters where they say judicial review cannot be excluded. This act excludes judicial review. I could have a watertight case. I will not win the case because this law prevents me from going to court to prove my case. We are a country which gave Ajmal Kasab a trial, a non-citizen, and a Hindu here cannot have a trial, cannot have his case in court because of this law. So I do believe BJP should itself repeal it. It is essential to do it. Now let's come to the last part of it. The Supreme Court has clearly protected the area where Shivling is found. So whatever they say here that there was no evidence or there was evidence, prima facie, the trial court was satisfied. Daily on prima facie basis, on balance of convenience, trial court passes ex parte orders in emergent situations, and that is exactly what was done, and the Supreme Court today has refused to interfere in it. They should accept it.